All right, just to confirm for my listeners who we got on the phone, it is the one and only DJ Phrase. Is it you, sir?
It is me. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How you doing?
Great, thanks.
For those who don't know, I'm just going to say this so that I don't accidentally play the first one. This is a second round. We had some technical difficulties first time through, so we're going to do this a second time. And because of that, Mr. Phrase is somewhat cheating. He's heard these questions, and he should know the answers, but we'll see what happens. Mr. Phrase, what was the first CD you ever purchased with your own money?
With my own money, it probably would have been a Blink 182 CD. Most likely, it would have been either like Cheshire Cat or Buddha, because I had all the later albums, or at least my brother did, and I would have stole those, no doubt.
Wasn't one of the first ones Dude Ranch or something?
Yeah, Dude Ranch was another one they did too. Yeah.
That was with Damn It, right?
Yes, yeah.
That was the first thing I ever heard from them. They were an awesome band until one of the members went a little cuckoo.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Big fan. Mm-hmm. Second band I ever saw live.
Well, that leads me to the next question. What was the first concert you ever attended?
It would have been the Foo Fighters.
See, that's funny. The guy I just spoke to, which you guys will probably go up one after another, Digger Bruckshot, first concert he ever attended was Foo Fighters.
Was it? Nice.
Yeah. Over in England, too. Where were you when you saw Foo Fighters?
It was in Manchester at the Manchester Evening News Arena, which would be the equivalent of like the ACC.
Now, were they playing with the Stone Temple Pilots without Scott Weiland? Because
I don't remember who the supporting band was, to be honest with you. But it would have been the In Your Honor tour.
In Your Honor tour.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. That kind of interests me.
Back in like 2005.
Okay,
that's about then.
I think it's a little later than the one that he went to. So you're a little late. You're a late bloomer to the concert. As a kid, didn't you ever go see someone like I don't know, Barney?
Not that I could think of, no.
No, it's funny. You know, one of the guys I spoke to, Mr. Marvelous Kane, when I asked him what the first album he ever purchased was, he said it was a Walt Disney soundtrack to, and I was like, well, what? How old were you? He's like, I think I was 5. And I'm like, wow. How did you get money to buy an album at 5? He's like, Mommy, can I have money to buy this album? That's a honest answer, you know.
Yeah.
I know you're a guy who likes to ride. So, first of all, am I right in saying that you like to ride? You're a biker?
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of bike do you have?
I do not. Well, actually, I have a dirt bike. I got rid of the street bike, which I was doing track days on that. It was a lot of fun, but, you know, a lot of people were getting hurt around me, and I sort of decided, you know, do I want to continue with this or keep doing more music? Because it takes a lot of time out of your summer going down to the racetracks, you know, it's at least 3-4 days every time. So I was like, yeah, I had my fun, tapped out while I was still in one piece somewhat.
That's, you know what, I hope you can share that insight with Mr. Polaris, because if you're familiar with Vlad, but he's gotten into biking recently.
Yeah, I mean, like, I rode, I actually took him to see his bike, yeah. We picked it up. Yeah, like, I moved onto the street, but like basically from advice from other riders, you know, it's like, you know, if you, move to track,
sure.
They're basically like, you know, if you're on the track, there's no cars, there's no curbs, there's no walls, everybody's going in the same direction, you know, the emergency service is sat waiting for you, you know, so it's a little different. Even though the speeds are higher, it's in a controlled environment and everything's monitored with tutors and all the different speed groups, right? And then riding on the road, it's pretty dangerous, you know. You could be the best rider in the world, but the problem is every other rider or every other driver on the road is your problem.
Totally. It's not.
So, I mean, you know, you can be as safe as you want. I mean, the biggest tip you can give is wrap up. You know, you got to put your protection on. It's a difference between riding tomorrow and never riding again.
No, it's also for the paramedics who have to work on you. Wear leather, because that road burn that they have to deal with to try and get you back to normal is just as bad for them, if not worse, as it is for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's not fun.
Not at all. So yes, Vlad, if you're listening, stop riding, man. Make more music. All right, what was your first experience with the rave?
It would have been in Canada. Back around like 2008, Kenny Ken and Chrissy Chris.
I remember
And that was an all-ages event, and I do not remember the name of the club. But it's definitely on, like, Adelaide or Richmond on the west side of the city. See, I didn't know Toronto very well at that point in my life because I'd just been here for about a year.
I find it interesting that someone like you came here to experience drum and bass for the first time. Did
Well,
you?
that's it. I went through my rock stage, got into, like, the happy hardcore throughout my teenage years in the UK. I was never old enough to go to the big clubs. When I turned 18, I was only in the UK for about 3 months. And then I came to Canada, which was bad timing because I'd been legally drinking in the UK for like 3 months, and I came to Ontario and you had to be 19.
Well, and I was gonna say, like, did you also learn to like soccer when you got here too?
No, man. Never really been a big sports fan, to be honest with you.
All right. Who inspired you to want to spin? Or what? Who or what?
Who or what? Oh, I played a lot of music, like, growing up. But I had, like, a spine operation, so I was, like, lost a bit of dexterity. So I stopped playing piano and stuff like that, but never really, like, lost my love for music. I mean, I don't think any of us really do. And then when I moved to Canada, like, one of my brother's friends, he was a DJ, and they all had turntables. And eventually, one of his friends was getting rid of a pair of Newmarks. So I jumped on the opportunity and never stopped since then.
That's interesting to me that you were a pianist, and due to an injury, you were no longer able to create. Do you produce other than spinning? Like, are you creating synthetically?
I'm definitely, like, learning it and putting as much time into it as I can. But I haven't came up with anything that I'm happy enough to put out yet. But there will be in the near future, I hope.
Well, do you think that a DJ must produce to be successful in our industry?
These days, I feel like it is. Unless the DJ is doing something next level to really get themselves recognized. Yeah, producing's important. If you want to get to the main stage, I think it's definitely a need these days.
How about the other way around? Do you think a producer must also spin to be successful?
It depends on whether they really care about performing or not, I guess, in a sense. Like, you can make amazing music and be happy just being a creator of music and letting other people play it. Or you could want to create the music and play the shows. I mean, I think at that point it's important to focus on the entertaining side of it as well, which for me would be, skills of the DJ. I remember seeing Chasing Status for the first time, and I was a little let down, to be honest with you. I didn't think they were that great, but I was a massive fan of their music.
I think that could be said for a few producers. I think it could be said vice versa for DJs who try to produce.
Yeah.
I think some of the best, I guess, amalgamations we get are when you get these teams, like I guess an Evil Intent, a Noisia, a Pendulum, where you get a collection of guys coming together and maybe one of them's a DJ, one of them's a producer. I really don't know. With Pendulum, I'm aware that El Hornet, I think, was the one who could spin. They brought El Hornet in to DJ. But I can't say that I could say the same. I'm naming these groups, like Bad Company was full of guys that could both spin and produce. So I think sometimes it's best to maybe team up. Like someone else I think of in our local scene is Dave the Nemesis Whalen. Someone who's been producing for years and successful. And just, no, he doesn't spin. People like Marcus and Lush, they'll play his tunes. And he gets a lot of international play as well.
Sure.
But I think there's many ways to skin the cat, I guess. And just do what you're good at. And if I guess don't force it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, obviously you have to keep putting work into everything, but it should be enjoyable at the same time.
Has to be. Speaking of enjoyable... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, like, vast majority of us all have regular jobs as well, so,
Well, yeah, we were talking about that actually before we went on record, that I've had troubles juggling the podcast the last week or so because I've been getting really busy with work. And I'm sorry, but priorities are priorities, and that pays my bills, so I have to put that ahead of everything else.
Yeah, for sure. And, when it hits the fan, it's usually all at once, right? So
It certainly is. Okay, I was going to say, with talking about having fun making music, I think friends is a big part of that. And I know you've made friends with the Create D&B guys, and you've become a part of that crew. So I wanted to ask, like, how did you meet them? How did you become a part of that? Could you explain?
well, like bumped into, like I first met like Z with A2 like back in Oakville in like probably like 2008 2009, and then like went to all the shows. Like Heidi was doing shows at Arnold's Sports Bar at that time,
Yeah.
and then like years later, so like I always knew who Z was and like saw them all at shows and stuff like that. And then I started DJing more often, and then he had David Blackley from Create D&B coming over, and then we ended up doing a church Sundays tomorrow. Church Sundays together, and then from there, he asked me if I wanted to keep doing it with him, and we kept doing it. It's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, how many years has Create D&B been going on? Like, let's say
The
Create D&B.
label itself?
No, let's in the 6.
In the 6, 2 years, I believe.
And have you been around with that group since the beginning?
No, about just over a year.
Gotcha. It was actually really neat. I got to see Mr. Phrase here spin a few weeks ago at DJ True Trupa's birthday bash.
Birthday bash, yeah, man.
And man, did you guys blow the roof off that basement?
That was a lot of fun. That was a powerful system down there, man.
It was crazy. Did you see Joey Mojo was walking around with toilet paper in his ears? And it looked hilarious because it was sticking out the sides. So they looked like this little wing. he says to me, he's like, yeah, man, it's really loud. You want some toilet paper? And he's just looking at me, I'm like, no, I'm okay, man. But it's ringing. But it was a lot of fun. And if you get a chance to check out the Create D&B crew, it's just a high energy, a lot of jump up. And is it fair to say that? I don't want to label you as that. Is it fair to say that Create D&B is a jump up kind of vibe, or would you say it's still a large motley mix of all the genres or subgenres?
Well, for like Create D&B in the 6, like one crew, one sound family, we try to represent all different sounds, and I feel like between all the different MCs and DJs in a group, everybody brings a little bit of different flavor from different areas. I mean, the majority of the stuff that all goes out on Create D&B, the actual label, majority of it is jump up music. Yeah. But we don't try to put ourselves in a corner personally.
I get you, but it's high octane, and especially when you got someone like Z running the mic, it is definitely going to be high energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What changes would you say you've noticed since you entered the jungle scene to where we are today?
I mean, it definitely declined for some reason, I don't know if that's got something to do with, the Gov closing, but then Rebel appeared, so. But I don't think I've really seen any drum and bass parties going on at Rebel, maybe 2. I feel like the scene's in a bit of resurgence right now, though. It seems pretty healthy right now. There's a lot going on. Shows have had good attendance.
I agree with you. I there's a resurgence occurring. I'd like to see more all ages. I'd like to see more young faces, and I hope promoters...
yeah, I mean, I've heard a few different things to, like, we're not allowed to do all ages, or, because of liability reasons, the clubs don't want to deal with it, or maybe promoters don't, which is totally understandable. But, I mean, you have to get the music to the younger generation, And if you can't do it through all ages events, then, I mean, we do have drum and bass shows on radio stations, but I don't know if there's anything on, like, public radio.
Well, we have 89.5 Prophecy Radio.
Yeah, but...
Sorry, go ahead.
It's true, yeah, we don't. But there's no major radio station that's really pushing underground sounds, If you look at, like, the BBC, I mean, I don't know if you can really compare that stuff, but just saying, like, they have, like, BBC One Extra, which is specifically for pushing the different sounds of music. It just seems like a lot of the massive radio stations in Toronto, they only push mainstream music.
There's no ear for it here. We have to be fair in a sense that if you go to London, England,
But if you can't hear, if there's nowhere to hear it, I mean, how are you ever gonna get ears for it?
That's not the way you go, though. I don't think the radios will start playing it, therefore people will start listening.
You could be right. Yeah.
And the thing is like you go over to Europe and you see the industry, the self-sustaining industry that there is in local weeklies and big festivals on it.
Yeah.
Like I just came from Rampage, 55,000 people. Even if you put that
crazy.
lineup together here, you wouldn't draw that many people. We don't have the industry.
No.
So I think it's unfair to compare us to that. I do think that there is a place that we can find. When you're talking about liabilities, there's definitely a point to be made. The promoters, bar owners don't want to take the risk of liabilities of children hurting themselves. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. It isn't illegal. It's just there's a lot of risk, and when a lot of promoters weigh the risk and reward, they don't see it's worth it because they say I can make just as much money as a 19 plus and not have to do that. But when you're looking at it differently and saying, well, I'm doing this because I'm trying to invest in a scene and not just make money, I think you take it from a different approach. And I'm not saying our promoters aren't capable of doing that. These guys will do it if they're given the opportunity. I just think it's hard to find it right now. You got to find those venues. Like you look at the places these guys are leasing and throwing one-offs, or not one-offs, sorry, like once a month in these rented units. They could theoretically do all ages. It's just the venue is only able to fit like 100, maybe 120 people. They run the bar. They make their money at their private bar.
Yeah.
And when you fill that with kids that can't drink, then the money's
it's a big money loss.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of I guess variables that go into how to do this, but it will get done. I'm personally
the online streaming's difficult, right? Like your reach only kind of goes so far.
The online streaming. What do you mean?
Like online streaming, doing streams with music. I mean, I'm not so sure a lot of them get the reach that like regular radio does.
No, and of course not. You're talking about like people that go on Facebook, like myself, for instance, and try and play our music over this live feed.
Yeah, unless you're like paying to sponsor it, then it's pretty difficult to get a good reach.
Even when I tune into some of the big guys, like short of I follow Duff from Guns N' Roses, and when he goes on stage, he gets like over 1 million viewers watching. But
insane.
Like Andy C, I follow him, and when he goes live, it's like 77, 78 viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he gets thousands over the clicks, but at that time watching live, it's not like there's, you talk about a radio.
At one time, yeah.
I was on 89.5 for a few years, and while we were on it, CBC Radio had gone on strike, so all of their listeners got dialed into our station. It was like an automatic redirect, and we went from having like 2,200 listeners to like 236,000 listeners. So it was a good fill-in spot.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm going to move on. What can we expect from you in 2019? Like, do you have any tours coming up? Any shows? Any records?
Got a couple of shows coming up actually. Yeah, with Craig Dean being the 6th, we'll be supporting Vibes at the Last Planet headquarters alongside Remedy, and then I'll be on Nephews as well, actually, which is May 11th or 12th. Those are the next 2 big shows coming up. So really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. All right, if you could create a Mount Rushmore for the jungle industry, who would your 4 faces be?
Skibby is one of my favorite MCs. I don't think I'll ever get bored of listening to him.
Okay.
And I would put Break up there just because I love everything that guy puts out, and I think his tracks are really well put together. Good sound design. I'll throw up Andy C because he never lets down. Seeing him live. And DJ Hype.
Hype. That's a good 4. And you know what I like is that, like I said at the beginning of this is not the first time Fraze is hearing these questions. He should have these answers prepared. It should be boom, boom, boom. Those are the 4. But no, you did not do your homework, Mr. Fraze.
No, man.
All right, let's see how he does on this one. If you could put 5 items in a vault that would encapsulate our rave culture, what would those 5 items be?
Okay, so we'll go the music collection, DJ setup, say some rave tapes so that people know what they're doing with everything, and a clipper lighter and a bag of weed. Good to go.
You know what's funny about what you just said? Remember I told you the guy I interviewed before you said Foo Fighters as well?
Yeah.
He said a clipper lighter, and I'm not even going to put any weed
No
because
way.
I'd hope. I swear to God, he did. He said a clipper lighter, and I'm not going to put any weed because I'd hope you'd already have some. But that's fucking hilarious. You two should meet. Excuse me. I want to talk to you a little bit more, so stay on the phone, but I'm going to sign off to the listeners, okay?
Okay, thanks, man.
All right, guys. That's him, DJ Fraze. There are links below if you want to follow this man on Facebook. Check out the Create D&B in the 6 family. Check out the whole sound. As always, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, peace out.